Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Myself Pawan Kumar Kain. I am doing my engineering in Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering. Today I am here to discuss about test of significance for large samples. Okay guys, let's dive to the topic. Introduction to test of significance for large samples. Test of significance is used to determine the statistical significance of a hypothesis. For large samples, a different approach is used due to the central limit theorem. The central limit theorem states that the sampling distribution of the mean approaches a normal distribution as the sample size increases. Central limit theorem. The central limit theorem is a fundamental concept in statistics. It states that the sampling distribution of the mean will be approximately normal regardless of the shape of the population distribution. This is true as long as the sample size is large enough, or it also called as typically greater than 30. Z-test for large samples. The Z-test is a statistical test used to determine whether there is a significant difference between the sample mean and the population mean. For large samples, the Z-test is appropriate due to the central limit theorem. The Z-test compares the observed sample mean to the hypothesized population mean source. Hypothesis testing. Hypothesis testing involves a formulating a null hypothesis and an alternative hypothesis. The null hypothesis states that there is no significant difference between the sample mean and population mean. The alternative hypothesis states that there is a significant difference between the sample and the population mean. Test statistic. Test statica is a value calculated from the sample data that is used to determine the p-value. For large samples, the test statistics follows a standard normal distribution. The test statistics is calculated by subtracting hypothesized population mean from the sample mean and dividing by the standard divided by the square root of the source. P value. The p value is the probability of obtaining a test statistic as extreme or more extreme than observed test statistics, assuming the null hypothesis is true. A small p value, typically less than 0.05 level, indicates strong evidence against the null hypothesis. A large p value suggests that the observed difference between the sample mean and distribution mean could lead to due to variance. Decision rule. The decision rule in hypothesis testing involves comparing the p values to a predetermined significance level or alpha. If the p value is less than the alpha, we reject the null hypothesis and conclude that there is no significant difference between the simple mean and the population mean. If the p value is greater than alpha, we fail to differ null hypothesis and conclude that enough evidence to suggest a main difference. Confidence intervals. Confidence intervals provide a range of values within which can be confident the true population parameter lies. For large samples, confidence intervals are typically based on the standard normal distribution. The confidence level determines the width of the interval, represents the probability interval contains the true population. Type 1 and type 2 errors. Type 1 error occurs when we reject the null hypothesis when it is actually true. Type 2 error occurs when we fail to reject the null hypothesis when it is actually false. The significant level, or also called as alpha, is the probability of making a type error. Power of the test. The power of a statistical test is the probability of correctly rejecting the null hypothesis when it is false. Power is influenced by factors such as the sample size, effect size, and significant level. Increasing the sample size generally increases the power of the test. Example application. Let's consider an example where we want to test if the average height of a certain population is significantly different from a given value. We collect a large sample of heights and calculate the test statistic and p-value. Based on the p-value and significant level, we make a decision of to either reject or fail to test null hypothesis. Conclusion. Test of significance for large samples relies on the central limit theorem. The Z test is commonly used for larger samples, comparing the sample mean to the hypothesized population mean using a Z score. Hypothesis testing involves formulating the null and alternative hypothesis, calculating the statistic and p-value, making a value based on the significant level. Thank you.